Okay, so welcome to this series of videos then on the new Rinnai EF26 model or water heater. What this model does is replaces the existing or the old EF24, which we've had in the range for a number of years. EF26 is sort of live right now and sort of came into our range just at the start of April 2020 and is a current model. EF24 sold through, no longer available. So differences then. Very basically, this is about 30% smaller and also around about 30% lighter than the old EF24 model. It's a fully condensing water heater at about 92% efficiency, which compared to say an A series means it uses around about 11% less gas than an A series. So if you use the A series as the benchmark, 11% less gas usage out of an EF26. 26 litres a minute, the old EF24 was obviously 24 litres a minute, so there's a bit of a gain there. Obviously smaller, and the way to think of this unit really is it's like a high efficiency A series. A lot of the architecture, a lot of the features, a lot of the components inside are very, very similar to the A series. Obviously we've got a few extra new things. Okay, so here we've taken a cover off the EF26, and what we can see inside is pretty much, it looks like an A series, so very similar heat exchanger there. And burner and sort of injector module and all that kind of thing. Very similar, if not yet identical PCB. Differences though. Second heat exchanger at the top. So obviously what we're doing here is capturing flue gas, and we're using that to preheat water to get the efficiency out of the unit. Obviously by preheating that water, what that's going to do is it's going to cool the flue gas down. Then we'll get condensate forming. So condensate forms and it's draining down into this fine thing here, which is a condensate collection and treatment bottle. What we've basically got in here is a treatment media, which is fundamentally lime chips. Acidic condensate will run out down into the bottle, hits that lime chip. Obviously then that breaks the lime chip down over time, and then obviously as the lime gets broken down, it's basically getting broken down. It's alkaline and acid mixed together, and you neutralize the acidity of the condensate. So now condensate then drains out the condensate drain and away, and what we've got there is we've got a far less acidic concentration of condensate come out of the unit. So it just basically means that when we dispose of that condensate, we still need to put it down into it, dispose of it sensibly and in the correct area. But we've not got acidic condensate, so issues with where it might go into cement, for example, or other things that might be sort of more prone to being eaten away by acidity. It's less of a concern, but we still do need to drain it away effectively. So all that information, if you look in 5601, is there. You just need to follow that and the instructions that we supply the unit. So condensate thing, everything else is pretty much A series really. There's nothing really different in the unit, in terms of that. Same gas valve, as I said, PCB, heat exchanger componentry. It's all pretty much the same stuff. So that's the basic 101 on the internals on the EF26. Okay, so what we've done here is we've removed the condensate pack out of a different unit, so we can have a bit of a chat about this. Obviously it's quite a different thing that's not really been seen in many Infinity units before. So what we've got here is a condensate collection and treatment pack. It's completely sealed, so it's not a user serviceable or even a service person serviceable item. The contents are in here for the life of the unit or the life of the pack, and that's worked out to be around about sort of 10 to 15 years with normal domestic use. And there's a bit of a caveat there that may wear out quicker if the unit's got a lot higher running hours or whatever, but broadly 15 years of normal domestic use. Okay, so a bit of a tour around the pack then. So we've obviously got the condensate comes out of the heat exchanger, secondary heat exchanger, comes down into the pack, that's entering here, goes into the unit. What we've got inside here is fundamentally lime chips. They're then reacting with the condensate to neutralize it down. Okay, we've got a couple of sensors up here, which are onto a plug. Those sensors are really just measuring two things: level and of condensate in the unit, and also the acidity level of it as well. So obviously as the lime chips break down and there's less of them, the acidity level of the condensate will rise. So we've got the ability to monitor that via the PCB and set off an error code which warns that the acidity is risen. It doesn't switch the unit off, so it's just a warning there for service people and or the homeowner. So that's what that harness is doing. This thing on the front in silver is just a little element which is keeping it nice and warm. So frost protection for the condensate pack. Obviously if the unit gets into sub-zero temperatures, winter time, high up, down in the South Island, wherever, then what can happen is this can start to, potentially get cold, wants to freeze. This element switches on as part of the frost protection which we've got on the unit anyway, and just keeps the pack from freezing. Obviously, for that to happen, the unit's got to be connected to power all the time. So no power on the unit, cold weather equals cold unit equals frost problem. So make sure the power is on. Okay, flipping it up on its bum, then underneath what we've got is the regular outlet, which is down in here, whoops, somewhere on the field, that one there, and then this one here is just a drain. We open that up and we can drain that condensate out if we need to, say for service reasons or whatever. We can get in there, it's just a drain, which is normally closed when in normal service, and then it's draining out of the main condensate drain line. That is the condensate pack, weighs about, kilo, something like that, bag of sugar, nothing too heavy. 2 screws to get it out, one here, one here. That then withdraws, you obviously pop the pipe off. In behind is the fan of the unit. Like an A-series Infinity, you've got a fan set in behind there. So if we're doing a regular service on this appliance, a regular service isn't replacing the condensate pack if it's in serviceable condition, but it might be checking the fan, for example, and we just pop the condensate bottle out and then get into the fan, and the access is there, it's straightforward, just like on an A-series really. So it's not really going to slow anyone up in a service type scenario. Easy to get in, easy to get out, not too difficult. Pretty much that's the condensate collection and treatment bottle in a nutshell. Okay, so we looked at the condensate bottle. Similarities then to the A-series are the burner assembly. The heat exchanger, very similar, not exactly the same, but similar. PCB is pretty much identical. Now the only real big difference is the way you can connect the controller harness assembly up. So if you're connecting controllers to this unit, that's subtly different than an A-series. On an A-series you have obviously the ability to put the controllers in as a plastic little thing, and you do 2 screws up and a controller harness of wire fits in there. Not on the E-series. What you've basically got is, and it comes with the unit, is this little controller plug. That plugs into the PCB in the right spot, and then you just terminate the controller wiring onto that wire there. So it's pretty straightforward. The hardest thing is not losing this. This comes inside the user manual or the installation manual for the appliance, and often that is thrown away. If you do that, you throw away the little plug, and then there's no really easy way other than getting another plug to connect controllers onto this unit, and that's happened quite a few times already. So don't be that person throwing away the manual, okay? Look after and find the controller cable, and even if you just tape it on the inside of the cover for the next person that wants to connect the controller, that would be awesome, but you might be the one who wants to fit it. In this case, out of the bag, gets plugged in, terminate to that. No, it's not polarity sensitive, just like a normal controllers, and away you go, and you're good to go there. Apart from that, not much difference really, how it runs, how it's set up, how you set the PCB up, how you do high and low gas pressures to A-series. All very, very similar, in fact, if not the same, so good stuff. What we're going to take a look at now is the fittings on the outside of the case, because they're slightly different than some of the other units you may have worked on. So if we look at the bottom of the EF26, then what we can see is that the layout's a little bit different than perhaps you're used to with an Infinity. The pipe out on this is different than the A-series, it's different than the VT, it's different than the XR. So if you're replacing one of those older units with one of these, you're going to need to alter the pipe work. Okay, so let's just take a walk around. So we've got hot water outlet, highly familiar with that, and obviously the pressure relief valve there. Coming over here, we've got the condensate treatment bottle drain, okay, which is normally screwed tight. This one here with a cap on, we'll just remove the cap, is the condensate outlet from the condensate treatment bottle, okay. And coming over here, we've got this, which is the controller inlet point, so where you put all your controller cables go in. That's quite different than the old or the A-series and or the old VT or the XR, so we're going to talk about that in a bit of detail in a second. We've got hardwired connector for mains power in, okay, so note that's got the whole cable clamp on the outside, etc. This black thing here is an external temperature sensor. What that's doing is measuring ambient air temperature. That's for frost protection. Now that is also on the A-series, and that's how the A-series and the E-series measure external temperature and how they activate the frost protection. So you need to be mindful of that. If you're putting this in somewhere that's really cold, and you'll say you're insulating the pipe work around the unit, or maybe you're putting a pipe cover on and filling it with bats, then you're going to insulate this. So that's going to then obviously mean that the temperature's not going to be accurate when it's reading it. So if you're in a cold area, be mindful of that. Gas inlet, as per the A series, obviously you've got a pressure test point there and a regular gas inlet, and then of course we've got cold water in, we've got cold water inlet here, and we've got of course the cold water filter there. So those are pretty much all the connections on the bottom of a unit. So let's talk about the controller connection in a bit more detail. So first of all, in the pack or in the box you get this, which is again inside the manual, so be careful not to throw that away. That connects to your regular controller cable. So when you order an MC601 controller or whatever you order, you're going to get the controller and obviously its associated cable. They come in one box. You need to connect this to the cable like so. So in this case we've connected the controller cable to the little plug that you get supplied, and we've done it in a sort of typically Rinnai fancy way. It's been soldered and it's had heat shrink put on. Now in the real world out there in the field, you're going to probably use some connectors for that, like top hat style or whatever, chocky block style connector. That's all good. Now polarity wise there's no problem, you can connect either wire to either side, there's no polarity on controllers, we don't have to worry about that. Now once we've got that bit done, then what we've got here is obviously this grommet and this gasket. We're just going to feed the controller wire up inside the gasket, and then we can connect that end of it once it's fed through to the PCB. Far easier to terminate all this externally to the unit and feed it through, then try and feed it through and then terminate it, right? That's going to be hard. This is easy, go for easy every time. So we've got the plug where we fed it through from underneath the unit, and then what we can do, let's get that out of the way, and we're just going to plug that in, down in here, like so, and that's the controller cable now plugged in and the controls will work. Now a couple of things, the unit will take up to 4 controllers. How do you terminate those? Simple, you just attach them, 4 controllers to the one controller cable. That works perfectly well. Here we've gone for a single cable. If you went for 4, then you obviously need a bigger chocky block connector or whatever. That all works perfectly well. No problems at all there. One point to note is there is a dip switch block located next to the controller connection point. Make sure that you don't depress any of those dip switches inadvertently, as that will give the unit a bit of a problem there. They should all be in this position here on a unit with a controller connected. There's a real overview of the EF26. I hope you found it useful. The manual's there. Read the information in the manual. If you read the manual, you won't throw away the controller connector, which will be useful. And yeah, pretty much there and ready to go. Good solid unit. Another highly reliable Rinnai product. Thanks for watching.